Well, we are now joined by Peter Theory, who is one of our reporters on the economy desk, to just shed some light into what this means for Africa, bearing in mind what we've in our earlier report there in terms of infrastructure. Many thanks, Theory, for joining us on the show. And just to quickly dive in, this particular exhibition is tipped to raise some substantial amount of money. Perhaps what areas are likely to benefit from this?
Abby, we have the Africa Export-Import Bank, the Africa Union, and the Africa Continental Free Trade Area Secretariat organizing this second Intra Africa trade fair, which will be in South Africa. And this is in light of trying to encourage more trade between African countries. Like you correctly said, they expect over 55 countries to be participating in this. They expect around 1,100 or even more exhibitors. They expect 10,000 buyers and sellers. They expect 5,000 or more participants in South Africa. The aim of this is to make sure that Africa can eliminate some of the barriers that prevent trade between African countries and make sure that the trade between African countries increases and improves. This is in light of a lot of African countries actually preferring to trade with countries outside the continent. And they say that the trade that happens in Intra-Africa is only 16% of all the trade that happens to Africa. And to try to improve this, therefore, they have been doing these high-level roadshows like one that happened in Kenya 2 weeks ago to rally the private and public sectors and make them prepared for this South African fair. All
right. Speaking about this very timely forum, there's a lot to be desired when you look at the intra-Africa trade numbers. We are currently standing at just about 17%. This compared to other regional blocs across the world, such as the European Union. There's a huge disparity. And one of the major aspects that has been touted as to unlocking trade is the Africa Free Continental Trade Area Agreement. And how is this so far panning out?
Well, I think actually correctly again, that is one of the things that they expect is going to make sure that there is a lot of trade happening between African countries or among African countries. And they say that there are a lot of tariff and non-tariff trade barriers that have actually prevented African countries from trading against each other. And the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement that was signed in March 2018 was supposed to, do away with all those barriers and everything else that prevents Africa to be, say, more independent than it's been in the past. And they had the first trade fair later that in 2018 in Cairo, where the prospects were the same to try and improve trade. And I think they're still building on the same. But Abby, it is clear that such a move is going to be beneficial, because the moment they continue to pitch camp in different countries and bring together investors and try to craft policies around trade between African countries and open up regions, promote trade here and there, make sure that a lot of people are brought into this, get to know about trading amongst themselves. I think it's going to ensure that generally Africa becomes a continent that improves in trade between or among her members. So I think all that needs to be done, or is what actually they are doing: do the road shows, do the trade fairs, bring more people in, rally the public sector in, policymakers in, and that's what they are doing. Ultimately, the Continental Free Trade Area thing is a good thing for trade. It's opening up countries. It's good for Africa.
All right. And finally, before I let you go, Theory, the bigger conversation right now among the youth is how can they embrace technology to bridge the digital divide. When you look at the young men and women doing excellent innovations across the continent, and we still hold up in that dispensation where we still have to cross borders. You need to have verification from different regulatory bodies so that your products can perhaps be sold in a different country. But we are literally moving into a knowledge economy where e-commerce is going to define the next frontier for intra-Africa trade?
You know, in the high-level roadshow in Nairobi, that's 2 weeks ago, actually, that was one of the biggest topics that was discussed. And the speakers talked about a lot of youth, for example, going into the creative industry and churning out content that is not probably good quality enough because they lack the capital, they lack the funding. Like you again said, there's a lot of the move to the digital scope or sphere of doing things should actually be speeded up at around this time. And yes, that is one of the things that is in the, can I say, crosshairs of the trade fair organizers. They're trying to see exactly how they can help African youth actually utilize the digital platforms that are available to not only feel digital but also make money around it. It was also said that infrastructure gaps are one of the biggest problems that actually impede Africa from being a powerhouse like some of the other regions in the world trade-wise. We have a lot of the youthful population is quite huge in Africa, and the digital transition is something that cannot be stopped. I mean, and such discussions as to make it easy for youth to, you know, market or monetize their digital skills, fund them, and in such a way, actually somebody said, will it be easy sometime for a young person who has a creative idea to go to the bank and use the idea as collateral for funding or something like that? It's a whole discussion around how the youth that are going into the digital scope can actually not only feel good that they are no longer analog or, like we say, they are digital, but can actually make money around that. And this will actually be enhanced by, and that's why I think this trade fair is a very important thing, bringing in policymakers who can now reason with business people, business-minded people, and try to find a way through which every digital space can be of benefit to the youth and to the African economies in general.
All right, quite a lot expected indeed in the coming road shows, and of course we'll be keeping a close eye on developments on that front. Many thanks there, Peter Theory from our economy desk. Well, let's transition to some more news now, and a group of professionals